Huddle up, dads. In my last video, we talked about how we could make our life easier as dads and as parents. Things like using an Instapot, and that counts as a home-cooked meal. Maybe putting multiples of things around the house where you know you're going to need them of various things. Or even setting routines for points in the day that cause tension, whether that be bedtime or maybe getting up in the morning, getting ready for school and work, or just bath time. And if you're interested in that, you can catch that video here. In this video, though, I want to talk about how you can create a fun and lasting memory that your kids won't soon forget, and it's going to take a rather mundane task and turn it into that awesome event. And what am I talking about? Well, of course, I'm talking about eating. We all have to do it, so why not take one of the most mundane things in our day-to-day that gets really kind of boring and monotonous and just kind of spice it up and turn it into something that your kids won't stop talking about. Now, this is my first meal video, so if you like this content and you want to see more things like this, go ahead and comment and let me know. But what we're going to do is we're going to make a very simple spaghetti recipe here, and we're going to turn this into just an absolute amazing thing. So hang on to the end of the video if you want to catch that. So for my spaghetti, it's very basic. I just get a pound of spaghetti noodles. I get 1 or 2 jars of my favorite spaghetti sauce. I get 1 pound of ground beef. And then I get a box of frozen garlic bread. And that's all you need for this meal. And even if you are, a 1 out of 10 as a skill for a cook, you're going to be able to do this because it's all so easy and the directions are all right there, and I'm going to walk you through it. Additionally, you're going to need a tablecloth. I would just grab a cheap one from Walmart or wherever. I bought a 3-pack for $2.97, and you're going to take that tablecloth and you're going to spread it over your eating surface. So in our home, we typically eat at the kitchen island. The kids eat there, and I kind of stand across from them. But wherever you eat, whether that be a kitchen table, it can even be outside if you want to do this outside. All of this places would work just fine. Now, this is part of a larger set of a series of activities that we do in our family called Free Fun Friday. I'll probably be doing a video on that later, but you can do this in isolation and it'll work just fine and be just as effective. So it was my youngest daughter Josie's turn for her Free Fun Friday, and so she wanted to have a spaghetti meal, and I kind of helped her along the way, and we came up with this idea to have a little bit of a twist with it, and a lot of fun for obviously any age. Children are really going to enjoy this, I think, and kind of, if you're older, they're going to think you're kind of crazy, but if they're younger, they're going to think it's kind of silly and fun. So wherever your kids fall, this is going to be a great thing that you can do for them as a kind of a change up. So we cook together in our family a lot of times, especially my youngest. She likes to help me out, and I'm more than happy to have her help me most of the time. It really doesn't add a whole lot of extra time, and I just have her maybe pour in the seasoning or things like that along the way. But in this, there really wasn't much, so I just filled up the water, handed it to her, and helped her dump it into the pot, because you got to cook the spaghetti according to the instructions. And so you just follow those instructions, which use like 4 quarts of water, bring it to a boil. I add a little salt to the water just to kind of help bring in some flavoring, also make it boil faster and help prevent the noodles from sticking. So if you are an expert chef at home, though, just know that in my cooking videos, they're not going to be focused on best practices. They're going to be focused on doing things that are simple, quick, and easy, because as busy fathers, we want to make sure that our kids are getting fed and getting the nutrients they need, while also not spending hours in the kitchen, because we just don't have really time for that. So with this meal, I start to bring the water to a boil, and while that's going on, I start browning the ground beef in a skillet. So as you can see, my middle child always gets kind of curious, and so she came over and started to help too, as you can see there. Now with the ground beef, if you're using extra lean ground beef, you might want to add a little bit of oil, or if you don't have a non-stick skillet, also probably add a little bit of oil before you put the ground beef in there and warm that up so it doesn't stick too bad. But after it browns, all you're going to do is take your spaghetti sauce, whatever you have chosen there, and you're just going to dump those in and lower the temperature down to simmer, so it just kind of starts to warm up the sauce, and so that'll be ready to go whenever the noodles are done. And so once the water is boiling, you're going to add the spaghetti noodles. You're going to cook it according to the box instructions, and as soon as I'm doing that, I'm preheating the oven to cook the garlic bread, just whatever the directions say. Again, follow those instructions on the back. And then when you are ready, obviously you're going to drain the spaghetti and let that cool for a couple of minutes. And then once that's all cooled, the show begins. And so you need to call your family in and say it's dinner time, get kind of excited or whatever you need to do to kind of get them into the kitchen and have them sit around wherever the eating area is, and just take the noodles that you have, and you just walk up to the eating surface and just dump them on the tablecloth right in the middle of everybody. And then you go grab the sauce and you do the same thing. Now, as you can see with mine, I left some of the spaghetti uncovered with the sauce because a lot of my kids like plain noodles too, and so I wanted to make sure to leave some off on the side just in case they happen to be really picky that day. Then take the garlic bread and just toss it on the table, and then it's time to eat, but catch is, you got to eat with your hands. Now, of course, this is something that's going to be completely crazy. If you have older kids, they're going to look at you like you're crazy, like, I'm not going to do that. And just kind of encourage them and make them. And it's going to be a lot of laughs. It's going to be a lot of giggles, laughing at each other, especially if you have young children watching it get all over their face and stuff. And I was actually surprised at how little mess there actually was. I expected, to have spaghetti all over the floor. So I made sure to, kind of put a bunch of stuff on the floor to clean up after that. There was actually less food on the floor than in a normal meal, which was kind of surprising to me. However, it is important, I think, that you put on clothes that either already stained or you don't wear ever, just in case, because spaghetti sauce will stain. And so we all put on old stained clothes or things that we don't really wear at all, just in case. But really, it was just on our hands and our face, and it was a lot of laughing, a lot of pointing at each other, and just have fun with it, right? Just dive in, and your kids will remember this, and they'll be talking about it, and they'll go to school the next day, and they'll tell their friends how you guys ate dinner, and it'll just be one of the most memorable things that they've done in a long time. And there you have it. That's what we did on a mundane Friday meal. Is we took it and we livened it up. We made it extra special. And so if you want to hear other ways that you can take mundane tasks around the house and make them more fun, or if you want to find ways to help get your children to cooperate and do their chores and follow directions, then like the video and hit subscribe, because we're going to make a community of dads that actually want to be there for their kids with the dad hacks you need for the memories they'll keep. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.